some of that is normal. Especially if you haven't been, working out or exercising a lot, and then you just start a running program, right? You're going to get sore. So again, a lot of that is normal. Sore muscles are fine. Even if you're having some shin splints, those a lot of times will get better with time. So you just need to start paying attention to them. So a couple of the common injuries we'll go through. Let's just start with the back. So if you're getting some back stiffness, the one we did where we're kneeling and coming forward, that's your hip flexor. Your hip flexor actually attaches onto your spine. So the tighter that is, every time you take a stride, it pulls on your back. So if you're getting some back stiffness, back soreness, the very first thing is make sure you're stretching, and also look at like how you're sitting at work. Sitting a lot of times leads to a tight hip flexor, so just be aware of that. If you're getting back stiffness, stretch it. You might ice afterwards. As long as you're not getting any numbness and tingling going down your leg, that's something that you can still run through to a point as long as it's not too painful. But if you get numbness and tingling down your legs, then you need to come and see me, all right? So I'm usually here on the weekends when you guys run. Just need to come and talk to me. Or I know some of you go to the chiropractor at Orange County, and you can bring that up with them as well. So that's something you don't necessarily want to run through. But some back pain, some back stiffness, we can try to work with that. The other one is the knee, right? So some of you may get some knee pain behind your knee or even below your knee. So behind your knee is more of a joint issue, and then below your knee is tendonitis.
What about a ratcheting sound in your knee?
A ratcheting sound?
Ratcheting, where it's like a series of clicks.
Oh yeah. Does that hurt?
Heck yeah, it hurts. Yeah, is that just with excess weight, or is that some kind of
I mean, it could be with excess weight. It's like, does it feel like it's behind your knee, or is it depends on where it is?
It feels like it's right at the patella.
Okay, yeah, so it could be in the joint itself, and it hurts when you run.
Well, no, because actually if I run, it doesn't really hurt. But when I go to stretch, you can hear it.
Yeah.
As I ratchet down, you can hear and feel the clicking.
Okay, so if it's not bothering when you run, then
run.
What about the center? Pain or a little pain.
We could look at it. So if you have something specific you have a question about, ask me about it. I'll be here afterwards, and we can kind of find out where it is, and I can give you some stretches. Yeah.
Should we not be stretching before we run as much?
Yeah, so the active warm-up we did today is probably the best thing to do. So it's just a little bit of get your heart rate going, breathing a little bit, and then maybe some blood flowing, and then go, and then stretch afterwards. Yeah, good question. So the knee, behind the knee or underneath the knee, stretches that you can do to address that quad stretch, right? So this one we did here, the tighter your quads are, the tighter that tendon is. So after you run, just make sure you're paying attention to those stretches. You can also ice it, so throughout the day or right after, if you have time. I know, like in the morning, you guys run and then you're off to do whatever job you have to do. So if you can, if you have time, try to ice it, or ice it when you get home, or make sure you stretch before you go to bed. So just those are some of the things you can do. Yoga, yeah, that's perfect. Let's see, the other one, shin splints. So some of you already have shin splints. Shin splints is really common, especially when you just start running, right? So you haven't been running, and now you're pounding and landing on your foot. When you land on your foot, you land on the outside of your foot, right? And you heel normally, and then your foot rolls in. The muscles that control that motion are the muscles that are along the front here, and also the one in the very front of your shin. So those muscles, all that's happening is you're not really overusing it, you're using that muscle 100 times more than you ever have before. So it gets really, really sore and painful. So a couple of things to know. When you run, if you're feeling that in the beginning, and then as you run it gets a little bit better, then you can just keep running through that. Just make sure that when you're done, you do the stretches that we talked about, you ice it. Another thing that's really helpful is to use your thumbs and just work through that soreness. When you do that, it hurts. Like it's gonna bring tears to your eyes. Just keep going. It's fine. Just keep doing it. It'll loosen up, right? So if you were to come see me in the clinic, I would do it probably until you cried and told me to stop. I mean, that's just what we do, right? So the more you can loosen it up, the better off you're gonna be. And then strength. So strengthening your calves takes some pressure off those muscles. So your calf does the same thing. It's much bigger and it's much better at doing it. So at home or wherever you're at, you can do like 30 calf raises or one leg, 2 legs. Do that on the days that you're not gonna run. the stronger your calves get, the more pressure is going to take off.
What about that spoon?
Oh yeah, the rolling things. So some of you have seen those things you can roll. You can roll on it here and on the side. That's fine. IT band pain, same thing. This is just from muscles in the back that you haven't used a lot of. You can roll out these. I think there's a foam roller at each mission, so you can. I think one of them's in the gym. So those are kind of the major things you need to pay attention to. I would say overall, just make sure you're stretching. If you have something that comes up that is more than soreness, it lasts more than 48 hours, and it's starting to limit your ability to complete your daily activity, right? So you can't work, you can't stand, walking is difficult, then that's something you need to bring to our attention, and we'll help you work through it, whether it's, get a different kind of shoe or arch support or something like that. We'll just sort of problem solve that we can get you to the start line, right? So it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to go from here to the end with no pain, I doubt. So we just have to figure out a way to get you there.
How about when you have pain, not exactly at the ankle, but like in the muscle when you move your ankle?
Like above your ankle or below?
Like right here.
Okay, I'll look at it. Let's look at it when we're done. Yeah, we'll check that out. Any other general questions?
Cramps.
What's that?
Drinking more fluids, right? For cramps, cramping up.
For cramps, I mean, sometimes cramps has to do with what you're eating, for sure, and sometimes it has to do with muscles being worked in such a way that they're not used to. So I would expect that some of those cramps will get better the more you do it. But yeah, just make sure you're drinking enough water and that you're eating, right? So now you're starting to put your body through things that it's not used to doing, something healthy that it's not used to doing. So you need to make sure you're eating, right? So don't show up without eating anything before you run. That makes it really difficult for your body to actually work for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. Like it's just gonna get longer and longer, right? So you'll start realizing like, man, I just don't feel that good if I eat a cheeseburger and then I come and run for 5 miles. Or if I smoke and I come and run. Like these are the changes that you're gonna start to make these changes on your own, because it's not very fun when you can't run because you've eaten so poorly the last couple of days, right? So last year, I think it was like the 11-mile run, just standing around listening to people talk, saying, man, I realized that I haven't eaten fast food in 2 weeks, because if I eat fast food, I feel horrible on the weekends when I run. So these are the things that you'll just kind of decide to do for yourself, and that's kind of the fun part of getting into exercise and running. You realize you can't kind of do both of those things, otherwise you kind of feel crummy. So just start paying attention to what you're eating and what you're doing when you're not running. Anything else? Generally. So I'll be here for a while. If you have questions, let's talk about it, and I'll give you some stretches and things you can do.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, yeah.